So I'm Denis Rabaglia. I'm a film director, but here I work as a head of studies, which basically I put the people together and I sort of control the workflow of the workshop and, together with the objectives of the workshop. So the initial idea was that a lot of films were greenlit in Europe with not being really sure whether you have the money to do it with respect of the script that you actually sold into brackets to your finances, whether public or in some cases as well, of course, private. So there was a lot of, it's a lot of discussion about like, at the end, so let's finance the film and we'll make it with the money we have. And yeah, the director, if there is not the man and the money that we've discussed a couple of months or years before, you're going to have to adapt, and that's the way it works, and that's the only way it works, basically. So I think there's like the assumption that actually the only way that works is actually the practical way, but that's not the only way. So we wanted to, investigate that segment of these relationships between producer, director, assistant director who's in charge of the schedule of sort of saying, okay, how many days do we really need to make this film, and line producers in charge of production manager who's in charge of making the budget. So this area was like not very organized, especially on so-called continental Europe. With people like assistant directors and production managers having a lot of experience but being brought into projects very late, and therefore where they sort of have to extinguish the fire instead of being able to say to people, okay guys, you want to do this is going to be more complicated than you think. So the idea was to simulate something which would be quite close to the real thing, but of course it would never be like the real thing because we are much early on, and of course you can't ask a German person to work on a German project because there's like a conflict of interest. We wanted also that these cases would be also the occasion to explore different European film conditions. So it was all about also mixing people and mixing experts. So basically, it started like that a little bit. I had this idea, but I didn't know how to organize it. So we did two editions, which were where I was getting projects in development. The producers would not necessarily come, but we just, over a week, we'll just do a budget and a schedule, just like if we would be at home and just do it, not out of the blue, because there's always a framework that the producer gives. But from edition number 3, this is number 6 now, we started to understand that in a way, confronting the producers and directors with the results, really and not only just calling them and say, well, this is where we are, and you'll see the result, but really having them sitting down with us, and going through the process and sharing not only the results but the whys, was much more rewarding. It was rewarding for the juniors who did the exercise. It was rewarding for the seniors because they could sort of explain really to the producer. And of course, it was much more rewarding for the producers and directors instead of getting some files, that they might open, but then they look at it that they know how to read them, and because they haven't been part of the process. So right now it's becoming, over the years, I would say the basic system and the values of it were the same, but we've tried to integrate as much as we can the producers and directors, which is not easy because somehow, they I have to convince them to give me the project, or sometimes they approach me and they say, okay, well, I have this good project. But, it's not like the juniors. The juniors are here, we can monitor them, and they come and they say, okay, we are here to learn, so how are we supposed to be? But, the people feel like they are big guests and, they're giving us some free time. Okay, they get the results, but, so the whole process in the recent years was enhancing the way juniors would prep the work before the workshop, via Skype conferences, a lot of things like that, and then monitoring the producers and directors to make sure that not only they express goodwill with respect to the results, but yes, they understand that if they wish so, they can of course go out and walk after they've been told the results because they don't like them. But if they wish so, there is a certain time and certain expertise which is there around their project, and they can sit down and dig into this. So these were the major changes.